Okay, so we've got just a couple more, well, what about 15 more seconds for the market's close. Looks like another up day on Apple, right? Is it echoing for everybody? Just curious, or is it just Richard? Hopefully everyone can hear me clear. Okay. Okay, so let me get rid of this. All right, so it's 4 o'clock. Let's get started. Sounds like I'm away from the mic. Okay, let me put a little bit closer there. Thank you. I am using not a mic to my ears. It's but it's typically the one I use. So okay, great. That's much better. I was just too far away from it. Okay. Okay, so again, welcome. It's good to see you all. And again, this will be recorded, so no need to take notes unless you want to. I will be sending this out to everybody tonight once it gets uploaded and so forth. So again, very excited. You know, those of you that have been following me for a while know that most of my experience over the years has been with Thinkorswim, and I love Thinkorswim. It has a lot of fantastic features, right? But you also know, like any platform, there's always going to be some areas that can be improved upon. And in my case, because I trade stocks, futures, and Forex, okay, I'm always looking at ways to, you know, certain platforms I like better with futures, for example, than trading stocks and so forth. So, you know, I've had a lot of requests since I went public on, hey, I love your seasonal indicators, Dr. Keith, but, you know, can we get those for TradeStation? So as I was going through that process, first of all, okay, which most of you know, that's not an easy process, but as I was going through that process, I also realized with my programmer that there were some pretty cool things about TradeStation, and actually has some advantages, you know, in certain aspects. So I'm going to actually keep this way this time, where I keep it small, but then that way I can just click on the icons and I can go back and forth pretty easy. So again, before we get started though, you know, make sure, you know, you read this important notice. And basically what it says is that you should not trade money you cannot afford to lose, right? And I don't want you to. You know, if it's money you're going to need to do to pay rent, you know, the psychology is different. You're not in the right mind frame, and it's something you shouldn't do. So again, I like to just spend 30 seconds on that every time I do a presentation to make you aware of that. So today's agenda, again, we're going to focus on TradeStation, and again, I don't think it'll take more than 35-40 minutes, but I've said that before, then it lasts an hour, right? So, but I am going to be here to answer any questions you have afterward. What I'll probably do is stop the recording when we get to that point, and then I'll stay on and see if there's any questions. But we're going to talk about real, because I know a lot of you are really familiar with my process, but some of you aren't, or some that listen to the recording won't be. So I'm going to briefly talk about seasonal logic, but then I'm going to go in and show you the TradeStation tools that I have, okay? So first and foremost, all of my trading evolves around seasonality. And there's different terms for seasonality, different meanings in essence. But basically when I say there's a seasonal move coming, okay, this is a predictable change or pattern in a series that recurs or repeats over a 1-year period. So for example, if we're going to focus right now on maybe stocks, right? There's hundreds of stocks throughout the year that have seasonal patterns, that they go higher or lower during a seasonal window in time, okay, with high probabilities. That's what I mean by seasonality. So why does seasonality work? Again, I've been trading using seasonality for over 12 years. Because once consumers or producers, large traders, once they fall into a pattern, okay, they tend to rely on it almost to the point of becoming dependent on it, okay? And I've done that through my research. I've done that by talking to institutions, and it's absolutely amazing. You know, so for example, if you're a Fidelity and you're looking to put X amount of stock, buy X amount of Apple, for example, for this year, there's certain times a year they do it year over year over year, okay? Why? Who really cares why they pick these times, okay? Just like when we wake up, we brush our teeth, typically before we go somewhere, right? So these folks that move the markets, they are very, very stubborn as far as their patterns. They like routine. It's something that has been fascinating to me throughout my research, and when I've done all my data mining and so forth, it's incredible the windows of opportunity that every trader should have. So again, I know I'm biased, but when I hear people say, seasonality doesn't work, it's ridiculous, because when you look at patterns and you look at data that says, hey, an underlying has moved 10% of the time, 28 out of 30 years during this 6-week window, how is that not an advantage to make money, right? It is absolutely an advantage. Okay, so again, I told you I'm going to be short today with the slides. We're going to get into the TradeStation platform in just a second. But what I want to mention is, so again, I have this system. I originally launched it with thinkorswim, and now I'm launching the seasonal system with TradeStation. Okay. The uniqueness about this is, as I'll show you, TradeStation has some more bigger capabilities than thinkorswim in some aspects. So because of that, okay, those of you that have thinkorswim seasonal that want to get it for TradeStation as well, okay, there are going to at times be differences, but that's by design, because even though it's basically telling you seasonal moves, it's not calculated differently per se, but there's nuances. So for example, TradeStation will tell me during a certain window, let's say 20 days, it'll give me the highest percentage over, let's say you go 10 years of seasonal moves, okay? It's going to tell me that highest percentage during that average window time, where TradeStation or where thinkorswim can only tell it on day 20, okay? So I just want to put it out there that it's a little different, but it's still, they're both giving you obviously the highest probabilities as percentages, and that will be a little bit different because of that. So I just want to put that out there at the beginning, okay? Because I know sometimes when you buy an indicator for thinkorswim and then you buy it for TradeStation, the expectation is they're going to be the exact numbers, and that won't happen here, okay? But they'll be very close in most cases. So, okay, so again, I'm going to basically, the cool thing about TradeStation is you can customize the inputs. So with the 20, 40, 60, for example, with thinkorswim, right, you basically know the next 20, on day 20, the percent move, on day 40, the percent move, and then on day 60, the percent move coming, right? Well, with TradeStation, you can change that to 20 days, to 30 days, to 80 days, to 40 days, whatever you prefer. So if you're an option trader that likes to look at options over the next 45 days, just to throw it out there, okay? You can have it set up. You can change the input from the defaults, which are 20, 40, and 60. You can change it to 45, 90, and 120. You can do whatever you want with TradeStation, okay? And this works for 9.5 version and 10, okay? Now, I use version 9.5, but it definitely works for version 10 as well. I've tested it and so forth. I'm eventually going to switch to 10, but I'm one of those folks that just, I'm very comfortable with 9.5. so I've been using it. But again, this seasonal system is not just for stocks, right? It's for futures and Forex as well, okay? Okay, so with that, let me bring up the slides. Bear with me here. Okay. So again, let me just first make sure because I'm actually on a VPS here. Can everybody see a chart of Apple right now? Just want to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. Okay, so I'm assuming I haven't got a response yet, but I'm assuming everybody can see the TradeStation over here. Chart with Apple, okay? All right, great. Thanks, Mike. Perfect. Well, that's the professor in me. I just want to make sure people are seeing what I'm talking about, right? So again, you'll notice here on the left, there's something, the symbol, and then you'll see there's something scrunched over here. I will open those up in a little bit, okay? But what I want to do is first focus on the daily chart. In this case, I have Apple up, okay? So bear with me. Let me get my drawing tool out. Okay, so again, this is the daily chart of Apple, okay? So those of you that are brand new and you've never listened to me before because I've always just used Thinkorswim, I am gonna do a quick tutorial on this daily chart. So these are Bollinger Bands. These are just standard Bollinger Bands here, okay? And I like to use this for direction and to see when something is possibly overextended and so forth, okay? So the Bollinger Bands is just a standard indicator on all broker platforms for the most part, certainly for TradeStation, okay? Now, the Laguerre, okay, right here. My favorite trigger, okay? I think it's been doing for almost 3 years now, so it's been doing a phenomenal job for me, getting me in trades when I'm just waiting for a trigger and a good entry point. The Laguerre has been my #1 go-to for, I guess, about 3 years now, okay? And the concept here is that this blue line is, I'm not going to talk too much about fractal energy today. There's other videos out there on the gold, but let's just focus on the Magneta here, right? So the blue line, let's call it. So when you get a Laguerre that comes in below this white line here, comes through and then comes back out, okay, there's a green arrow here, that's the trigger, okay? So again, I don't just go off a Laguerre trigger, I need to know the seasonal pattern, which we're gonna get to, okay? But it's that simple. And again, you may say, well, there's no arrow here, can I get it on the chart? Yes. I don't like to have too many things on my charts, but again, with TradeStation, in the settings, if you want arrows in the charts, it's a setting that you just put in yes instead of no that I have, okay? So, or if you don't want the arrows here and here, you just want them in the chart, you can get rid of them here and here, okay? So all of that is very easy to do by a click of a button, okay? Or if I'm looking to short something, let's say we were looking to short back here, okay? The Laguerre was up above, it came down, this is the short entry, okay? Again, forget seasonality for right now, just giving you the basics of when should I get in. Or in some cases, the Laguerre is so strong, it's coming down and then it curves back up, okay? That can be another entry, especially in a strong market like obviously Apple is, okay? Here's another curve. Now, as of today, right, we have an update closing. The Laguerre may start heading up. This may be your next entry point on Apple, right? Time will tell, right? Time will tell, okay? So this is the Laguerre. This is the Bollinger Band, okay? Very, very simple. Now, it's been about a year now. I've added a modified stochastic. And the reason being is there are some times where, first of all, you're going to get more opportunities to enter with the stochastic. It's more aggressive by nature. So if you see a seasonal pattern coming that is crazy high probability, okay, 15% move over the next 20 days, blah, 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 right? If that happens, you may want to get in then off the first trigger you can get into, okay? The green arrows when the stochastic are both below this 20 line and then comes back up, vice versa on the red arrows, okay? So I always look at the Laguerre first, okay? But I use right here, I use this stochastic if I want to get in more aggressive, or when you're in this big uptrend, folks, if you're looking to get an entry, okay, you just want to get in off a trigger, maybe re-enter right here, okay? And again, I have the the yellow arrows off, so there's not too many arrows, but where these are crossing, you can have it so you have yellow arrows, okay? So these are potential re-entries in a market where the Laguerre's not giving it to you right now, okay? Because it's been so strong, but you want a rule to get in, then you can use the stochastic for that, okay? So those are the two indicators that I have now programmed with TradeStation that comes with this package with, you know, in this case, Bollinger Bands are standard within TradeStation, okay? And this, any questions on this before we go into the really good stuff? Let me just check questions here. Okay, I don't see any. That's great. Okay, so now I'm going to bring open the seasonal indicator side, okay? So let me explain this. So here's current price, obviously, and I kept the candlesticks. I like to actually use the lines, but I kept the candlesticks from a teaching moment. It'll be easier, you know, okay, this is the price, okay? Pretty easy to understand there. All right, so now, and I'm gonna widen this just a tad, just so that we can keep it. Now, there's two lines here. So this is current price. This is the weekly chart, right? I believe strongly when I'm looking at a seasonal pattern, right? I like to take it off the daily chart, trigger off the Laguerre, for example, but I like to see the weekly seasonal. And so Apple's a good example of, we're really only looking for long plays on Apple to the near future, right? Tremendous seasonal play. It's been heading higher. It should have been heading higher, and it has been, okay? So again, when we get retracements, we look to go long on Apple, right? But there's two lines here. And the reason why there's two lines here is the red dotted line is the forecast from my seasonal indicator, okay? July, October. And again, you can scrunch this further out. You know, you can play with it any way you want to get it out there, okay? But what this is telling you is the red line is the 10-year seasonal pattern, and the magneto line is the 5-year. So pretty cool that you can compare, and you can add more. You could add a 20-year, you could add another line, okay? Or you can change this instead of a 10 to a 5 and to a 5 to a 15. So again, you just, in the input, let me just give you an example here. So when you go to format analysis technique here, okay, if I pick the top one and go to format, okay, this is telling you right here, number of seasons, 10. Okay, you can just change that. Okay, the predicted future color is red. You know, you can change that color. So all of this, again, is something that's customizable based on what you like, if you like things differently. Okay. Now, and Tom, a great question. I'll answer that in just a second. Okay. So again, you may only want the 10-year pattern. You could get rid of the 5-year, or you may want a 15-year. Okay. I'm keeping this very close to Thinkorswim. I like the 10-year pattern. Okay. And then I also like the 5-year to make sure that the last 5 years has been following. So Apple's a really good example how the 10 and 5-year patterns are pretty similar, right? Which again, normality is key when trading high probability setups like that, okay? Now, this white line right here that then turns into the red dotted line, this is what historically has happened on Apple, okay? It was actually relatively flat to up, right? That's what this white line is off the 10-year seasonal pattern. And Apple was actually a little bit stronger. So what do you think? If you're looking at a seasonal long play and Apple's been a little bit stronger than the seasonal, do we want to take longs? Absolutely, right? What I don't want is price to been continuing down during a potential nice long play. Then I'm like, okay, something's going on with Apple right now that's not normal, so let's skip it for now, right? That's what this white line will tell you is this is what it should have been doing based off of the last 10 years of seasonality. This is what it actually did, okay? So it was trending up the white line. Apple went up. We're all good here for a nice long entry when we get a trigger, okay? And again, the yellow line is just the same line off the 5-year, okay? If you want to use the 5-year. So this is something where I think a lot of traders that have looked at seasonal moves in the past have failed to realize you need to make sure the stock is acting normal to the direction you want it to go to, okay? This is almost like giving you news that you don't have to go read through 100 articles, because again, instead of this move up here, okay, if this didn't happen, let's say this is what really happened up until the current time, okay? You don't even have to read the news to know, heck, something has happened here with Apple. It was, it's going the wrong direction for what it typically does. So I'm going to stay out for now, okay? That's how I handle it, okay? That's how I handle it. When it's acting fairly normal, then you know when you get that trigger with this seasonal move coming, you're good to go, okay? And again, you can play around with your charts, right? Everyone's different. You can make them larger like this. You can, you don't have to show as much out if you don't want. That's all customizable, based off of that. Okay. Okay, so one question I had before we proceed is, does this work intraday? And so let me clarify something. Okay, remember, this is a weekly seasonal pattern from my customized indicator, right? Then I use triggers off of the daily that's in the direction of the seasonal. Is that clear? But absolutely, to answer your question, so let's say instead of a daily, you like to trade off a 5 or 15-minute chart. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. Let's say a 15-minute chart, okay? My point would be, if we have this great seasonal play on Apple, if you only take triggers long on the Laguerre, okay, off a 15-minute chart, or in my case, I love the 4-hour, but let's just say for shorter term trades, 15-minute, you're absolutely going to love the results, because remember what this is, right? This is predicted that this should have been happening and you're in an uptrend. So obviously if you take triggers off the 5, 15, 30, 4-hour chart in that direction, again, all assuming good risk management, right? But just big picture, I want to answer your question honestly. Absolutely. Absolutely, it works phenomenally, okay? Okay. Randy, we will look at that as well. Maybe we'll even share screen, you and I, okay? Okay, so can you pull up, let me finish up first, then I'll ask, we can look at a couple other examples, absolutely, okay? Okay, so any questions on the seasonal indicator? And again, this is based off of 10 years, and then the Magnetic is 5 years, but that's all customizable. So again, let me just show you. If I go in here and I go to Format Analysis Technique, right now I have the red is 10-year. Let's say I wanted to see the 15-year. Okay, you just type in 15. As long as the stock's been around that long, it'll give it to you. Okay, obviously it can't give it to you if it hasn't been around that long. Okay, so right, makes sense. Let's say you wanted to do it. Let's see if 12 years. So no. So in this case, we need something that's been around. Put that back here. Apologize. Okay. But you can adjust that. If you're a big trader of something that's been around 30 years, you can look at the seasonal. Now, the reason why I default, let me bring this back for a second. The reason I defaulted to 10 years, just like I do with Thinkorswim, is one main reason. I have found the most value when you're quickly scanning and looking for trades to look at the 10-year pattern, okay? And then if you compare it to the 5 and they look pretty much the same, you wait for that daily trigger, you're gonna love the results, okay? I can tell you that with high certainty, you're gonna love the results. Okay, so let me hide that. Let me move the charts over here so that now we can focus on the radar screen, okay? Okay. This is one of the huge advantages, in my opinion, the radar screen of TradeStation. Okay, so I just brought up the S&P 100, okay? So I only wanted 100 up to show up for now. But here's the beauty about TradeStation. You can literally put up to like 950, how many ever stocks you want, up to like roughly 950, okay? And then it'll give you what I'm going to show you, okay? So Thinkorswim has some limitations there. They can't handle as much data. TradeStation can handle much more, okay? So what I have here is just the symbol, right? The daily chart interval, the last, the high, the low, the net change, okay? Now, what I have right here, this right here, like let me click off of that and circle it. So this right here is basically, when you think about it from Thinkorswim, is basically the 20 for the 20, 40, 60. So this is going to tell you the average seasonal move. Let me change the color here. So the average seasonal move over the next, well, that's terrible, over the next 20 days, okay? Over the next 20 days in this case, 20 days. So what I mean by that is, if I just click on the input, which I have set to 20 days, you can adjust that to 30 days, to 40 days, to 50 days, to 90 days, right? That's customizable, okay? If I click off of that now, right, it gave you some stocks over the next 20 trading days, and then you can go, okay, I don't want to be bearish right now, I'm looking for bulls, okay? Then you can click again, right, and it's giving you the bulls. So NLOC, for example, has a 38% move on the stock over the next 20 trading days, and this is based off of the last 10 years of seasonality. So think about that for a minute, okay? Here's the beauty. Let's say if you have a watch list of 200 stocks that you like to trade, okay? What I always tell my clients when I'm mentoring them is this: only focus on the ones that have bigger moves coming. Forget the ones that don't give you that advantage, right? And by the way, when you see some of the zeros here, that's because there's not enough seasonal data based on the way I have it set up with 10 years, okay? You can always go to 5 years and so forth, okay? But anyway, so, you know, NLOC has a 38% move coming, right? Netflix is going to retrace more than likely before it heads higher. Again, all I'm doing is clicking on this and taking a look, right? And again, I only did the S&P 100 for the most part, right? Just to show you the list, a small list here, okay? And yes, you know, I put a couple in there like soybeans, okay? Because the way soybeans will show, it shows you the actual point expected move. So on soybeans, between now and the next 20 days, okay, it moves 1 7/8, okay? Or if you're trading Euro US dollar on the Forex market, okay, it typically moves 70.73 cents between now and 20 days, okay? So you can have anything you want on here, stocks, futures, Forex, and when I go into input and format it, okay, the input 1 is right here, 20 days. I can change that, and this data will update them automatically, okay? So right here, very, very simple in TradeStation. Number of seasons is 10. I could change that to 5 if I wanted to, or I could change it to 15, okay? This is all based on the user preferences. This is what will come standard because this is what I use 99% of the time, okay? So that's the input 1, which is it's defaulted to 20 days. And I don't have it labeled 20 days because you can change that, okay? Now you might say, well, where's the input 2 and 3? So all I need to do if I want more, okay, I just go over here and where it says show hide plots, let me put input 2. So remember, input 2 is now the next, we have it defaulted to 40 trading days, okay? So now you can see the moves. And let's say you want to sort by 40 days out longs, right? You just click on it and you can see now like Amazon, okay? It has a 6% move coming based off the last 10 years of seasonality, right? So again, we're getting retracements here. Now might be a good time if that like gear starts heading higher, knowing you have a 6% move on that stock coming historically, right? Maybe now's the time to buy some more Amazon potentially with a trigger, right? But see how amazing and how fast that is to give you, like I'm not even looking at stocks that don't give me an advantage, right? I mean, to me, a minus 0.62 to the short side on AT&T, no thanks, right? And I'm bullish right now, so I'm actually just focusing on the top stocks that are green, okay? And again, if I opened up all the optionable stocks, you'll get a lot more here, right? I'm just showing you the S&P 100 here. So let me make that clear, right? Or you could put all your futures or all your Forex. You can load this up to almost like 950 plus symbols if you wanted to, okay? And if you only trade with these highest probabilities coming up, okay, then again, you're going to be thrilled with the results because you're not looking at things that aren't giving you an advantage, okay? All right, so let me extend this out a little bit. Now, I have, this is the Laguerre radar screen right here. You see that? So let's say now you wanted to sort by longs, okay? So AMT, see that long trigger right here off the daily? It's telling you we had a trigger long, right? And then it stays there for an extra day for you. So then you can say, okay, I'm getting a long trigger, but I only got a less than 1% move over the next 20 days. So, hey, it's above the middle Bollinger Band. I'm not going to take that right now, okay? But my point is you use this as a dashboard, and you can sort by Laguerre triggers, right? And then look for if there's any significant advantage, okay? Or maybe you're looking for shorts, okay? I'm going to sort by short and say, okay, here's a short play that, and it moves typically 2% to the downside on 3M, okay? So maybe this is a better opportunity for you. Again, that's something I like right now, but you get to determine within seconds how you want to manipulate this data. So what am I looking for? Here's what I'm looking for. A long trigger with a bigger percent move coming, right? There's none today, right? I mean, but this is just a sample of the S&P 100, okay? So what if you got a long trigger on AMT here, and instead of the next 20 days out, that was showing you a 5% move, and price was below the middle Bollinger Band with that trigger? Would I be taking that option play? Absolutely. Yeah, so one question is, what does this 1.84 actually mean? This means over the next, in this case, input 2 I have programmed for 40 days, right? But you can adjust that. But let's say 40 trading days, AMT has a 1.84% expected move on the stock, okay? And obviously option plays, you're talking larger percentages, right? But what that tells you is, right, this is what's going to happen from a historical perspective. It moves almost 2% the stock itself over the next 40 days, okay? And yes, I could add input 3 here as well. You could have 20, 40, 60, 30, 60, 90. You can look, you know, if you like to do leaps, you can look at the next year out, you know, depending on your strategies. That's the beauty of TradeStation. It allows us to customize that. Everything I've defaulted is almost similar to Thinkorswim for that, but you can always customize it, okay? And yes, when I say 20 days here, these are trading days. So 20 trading days is equal to roughly 30 calendar, right? But you're absolutely right. 20 trading days, 40 trading days, and then input 3 is defaulted to 60 trading days, okay? And then again, this next one here, if you want it as well, you can always hide these. You don't need all these different triggers, right? But let's say you wanted the stochastic trigger, okay? So same thing here, right? You can sort by longs for the stochastic, or you can short by shorts, or neutral, right? So I'm just clicking on it. That's all I'm doing. Okay, so here's a 4% move, 5% move coming on lower corp. We had a stochastic trigger. Okay, but again, to me, it's overextended at this point. I'm not interested. But you can look at all that in seconds. That's the beauty. And the percent move that's expected based off of, in this case, the last 10 years of seasonal patterns. Okay? Okay. Now, I'm just going to really focus on input 1 for now, just to keep the screen smaller. When you're doing dual monitors, right, you can have the radar screen on one screen if you want, your charts on the other. A lot of different ways to play around with that, as you know. Sorry about that. All right. So let me bring up like Adobe here, okay? So the next, 20 days, you're not seeing a huge advantage, and it kind of verifies it here as well. But when are we looking to go long on Adobe potentially, right? Right here. Right here is when we'll start looking. And what I love about the weekly seasonal indicator is it'll then show you when the peaks are. Okay, so let me bring something that's not continually going up here. Let's try a couple others, like maybe CVS. Let me look at CVS here. Okay, so with CVS, let's say you're looking for a long coming up here shortly, right? You're like, well, okay, I can look at the 20, 40, 60, right, for the percent move. And then you can also look at this and say, okay, yeah, we basically hit a high here right around February of next year. But that's too expensive. I don't want to do in that long, let's say, right? So when would be the next logical, right? So what you do is you look for the peaks. So basically late September here, okay, or let's see, right here, okay, late September. Maybe that's when you're looking to have your option play expire because of the seasonal move. So if you took a long play, you then can look at the chart very quickly to say, okay, do I want this to be a 1-month option play, a 2-month option play, or if you're trading the outright stock, when is it that if it's not a long-term play, when is it that I probably want to get out, right? That's how when you use the 20, 40, 60 with the weekly as well, right? You certainly don't want to be long on CVS, right? The first quarter of the year, right? You want to stay the hell out of longs, right? That's where that can be helpful, okay? Okay, let me check on, open that back up. And let me check on questions here. NK, let me bring up NKLA. Okay. Yeah, not enough data there. Let's see here. Pepsi. So again, just show you how I'm analyzing this stuff. Okay. If you just want to look at a stock, bring it up. Okay, look at Pepsi, right? Here's current price. This is this week. Okay. Yeah, this works for anything programmable in TradeStation. So any ETF, any stocks, any futures, any Forex, it works. Okay. As long as you have data, an ETF that just started last year, there's no seasonal data, right? 5 years or more, you need to have to even call it seasonal data, okay? But for Pepsi, right, we're only looking for shorts, if anything, right? The next 20 days, you have, let's just say, less than a 1% move down. Then you look at the indicator here, okay? We're getting a lot of wicks here, right at this price. So with a Laguerre trigger here, can you have a potential to short and make money on this? Absolutely, right? But that's the advantage of the system, is that it's given you with the radar screen. I'm only looking at things that have a significant move coming. And, that's why, again, full disclosure, why I make money in the markets. I don't look at things that aren't giving me that significant advantage. It doesn't mean other trades won't work out. Of course they can. But why not go for your biggest bang for your buck? Why not look at a stock that during a seasonal window moves a big percentage of the time, right? That's what you need to do, folks, to be successful. Okay. Okay, bear with me here. Okay, so what I'm offering, and for right now, basically my indicators are in the private app store for TradeStation, okay? So what that means is once you purchase, I then get some information from you, your machine ID and so forth, right? And then once I grant you access, okay, if you purchase within the next 72 hours, I'm going to give you the lifetime access for this, okay? And yes, there's updates all the time, right? So as new stocks continue to have seasonality, right, you'll have that, you'll have that seasonal package forever. And what that includes is everything I just showed you, the seasonal radar screen, the Laguerre radar screen, the stochastic with radar screen, and the indicator, okay? I'm giving a huge discount right now. This is the lifetime access for $29.99, okay? Again, this is what you get, right? You get this, and you get this, okay? For life. Now, if you want the same package, and I'll put this link in the chat, okay? You'll also get it when I send out the recording. Let me put that in the chat for you, okay? Now, if you want to spend additional 5 hours with me mentoring you over this process, you get everything I just talked about plus 5 hours of mentoring and lifetime support with me for $34.99. Okay, so again, I'm going to put that in the chat as well, and this will be sent out to everybody. But a lot of folks wanted the mentoring, so I'm adding that as an option as well. Okay. So again, I put that in the chat for you all. Let me bring it back to right here. Oops, sorry. Okay. So again, this is one of those packages that in the future, I'm not going to let this be a lifetime package, okay, at this price. So if you're interested, now's the time. Let me look at see if there's any questions. Okay, let me bring this up. So let's say you're looking at bonds, US here, okay? 30-year bonds, right? Everybody knows July, August, I look for longs, right? I mean, go back to my videos. Every year we make money on this, okay? It's a good thing, right? So again, we had a nice trigger right here. Bonds have gone higher, and it's not done yet. This move isn't over yet, right? But again, you even see it from the seasonal pattern, okay? The next 20 days, this moves 1 1/32 still, okay? So that tells you as well, if you got into this, when should you get out? Well, historically, you don't want to get out yet. We're not quite at the top, right? But the cool thing is then once we get to that top, we can then take it to the short side. So you can make money on both sides, okay? All right, are there any final questions today? Again, I will send out this recording. If any questions, let me bring up the slides one more time. On this last slide, feel free to reach out. You can text us. This is my personal cell phone, okay? This is the YouTube channel. Probably about 2 or 3 hours, the recording will go out with the links. But again, I'm here for you. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. So thank you so much for attending. I hope you enjoyed. I'm super excited. This is going to, for people that, always love seasonal trading, you don't need any other programs out there. This will tell you everything you need to know. And again, this is going to be a lifetime access, and you can quickly scan, find your trades, place them, and walk away. Or if you want to do some shorter term trading with it as well, right? Go in the direction of those seasonal patterns. And that's the formula for success, folks. Okay. Okay. Well, again, thank you for being such a great audience. If you have any questions, reach out, folks. Other than that, Talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye.